Dante Greco.
Dante is a really smart guy.
Ladies love Dante.
I want it there. Look at that face. What's your name, Casey?
Dante Greco.
Dante was me, yours truly.
I'm gonna come.
Welcome to the Dante Greco Show on a Friday, live from liberal communist California. Gavin Newsom's hell on earth. We're under attack by the weather. Many people are already dead, snowed in, flooded up and down the coast. It's abject terror everywhere you look. Got a lot of stories to cover today. We got the Oscars on Sunday. We're going to talk about predictions. We're going to read the brutal Oscar ballot that some insider always puts out every single year. We're going to talk about Austin Butler's nonstop Elvis accent. Is this finally the end? Can he let it go? Will the spell be broken? We're also going to talk about what else are we going to talk about here? We're going to talk about DB Cooper, the hijacker who jumped out of a plane 50 years ago, never seen again. Made off with $200,000. Well, this UFC fighter claims that he knows who he is. The guy, the actual DB Cooper, died like 4 or 5 years ago in Arizona, and that DB Cooper was his sister, the UFC fighter's sister's godfather. But first, also we got Bill Walton using the M word twice, and this LA Times writer complaining about white people polluting the air for people of color. But first, we're going to go to a shocking story. Everybody in the podcast community, I'm sure, is up in arms. A podcaster was murdered by a listener, a stalker. Texas man allegedly stalks, kills podcaster and husband in Washington. Home invasion shooting, the worst kind, home invasion. You know why? Because you're in your home, relaxing, thinking you're safe, thinking everything's fine. Next thing you know, in comes a listener with a gun. They had just asked days after a Seattle area podcaster and her husband asked a Washington state judge for a protection order against a Texas man who had been harassing them. He allegedly broke into their home in the middle of the night and killed them. Yeah, you know, that's the problem with protection orders. You're always getting them against people who don't care about protection orders. Like, a protection order means that you can call the cops and they'll have to show up and get rid of the guy. By the time you call and the cops show up, you're dead. Protection my ass. This would happen in Redmond, about 15 miles east of Seattle. The suspect was named Ramin Kodakaram Rezai, previously of Houston, found dead inside the $1.3 million home. Gotta say, by the way, very nice home for a podcaster. I have a suspicion that the money for the home did not come from the podcasting. They were living here. He came in, shot him. This is the killer, Ramin Kodakaram Rezai from Texas. He faced stalking and harassment charges filed March 2nd. God, just last week. The mother of the podcaster, who was also at the home at the time of the attack, escaped and called 911 from a neighbor's house around 1:45 a.m. Awful. You're sleeping at that time. You go to bed and then you get woken up to this maniac. All right, so the husband and the wife were shot. They killed the guy as well. Trying to see. I believe that the suspect killed himself. He had reportedly listened to the female victim's podcast and began communicating with her. The victim and suspect became friends, but when things escalated, she filed a no-contact order against him. Yeah, so I just want to say, first of all, if any of you listening are thinking of doing that, stop right now. Stop right where you are. I am not a real person. I am actually an AI-generated podcast powered by ChatGPT and Microsoft Bing. This is not a real person that you're listening to. This is fake. This is a mind control experiment. You're just going to be shooting a computer. So, don't even worry about it. But seriously, killing your favorite podcaster is such a waste of time. Nobody, like 99% of people have never heard of your favorite podcaster. Most people have never heard of 99% of any podcasters. People know Joe Rogan and like Dak Shepard, and that's it. And then there are little subsets of podcasts. Nobody else listens. Like everything else is just a little niche. So if this is kind of like a fame thing, I don't know. I mean, it sounds more like he got obsessed, but still, it's not like you're going to get notoriety from killing a podcaster. They just don't have big enough audiences. And that's kind of what sucks about the media landscape today. You can get a murderous stalker off of something very small. Like you can get a murderous stalker from Twitter. Or does anyone remember Christina Grimmie, the YouTube singer who was signing at a concert and like some weirdo came up and shot her dead? And most people had never heard of Christina Grimmie until that point. It's really scary because people who don't have access to the resources to protect themselves, I'm talking about the podcasters or the artists, they don't have enough money to hire security like Justin Bieber or, Miley Cyrus or whoever. They're just doing a podcast from their living room with a ring light. You know what I mean? How is this woman supposed to protect herself when Ramin Karamzadeh shows up in her home in the middle of the night? It's crazy. So let's get into a little bit more details of the podcast itself. Killer, he was a trucker, by the way. So he had no problem driving the long distance from Texas to Seattle. Probably pulled it off in one day. He gunned down podcaster Zoreh Sadeghi, 33, and her husband Mohammed Naziri, 35, before turning his weapon on himself. Mother managed to escape, called the police from a neighbor's house. Naziri, that's the husband, was shot in the upper torso. He tried to flee the scene before collapsing by the front door of the house. Officers attempted CPR on him until paramedics arrived, but they were not able to resuscitate him. So the killer first came into contact with Sadeghi after tuning into a podcast she was affiliated with on the subject of gaining employment in the tech industry. That's even worse. Don't tell me that this woman was just a guest on someone else's podcast and got killed. According to Redmond, by the way, that explains how they got such a nice house, the tech industry. This guy, Ramin, started emailing her and messaging her, just starting conversations about the podcast. And the understanding is that they became friends. By the way, no article provides the name of the podcast as of yet. Cops could not immediately provide that, so we just don't know. I tried to look it up. I can't find it. At some point, the pair's relationship took a concerning turn, and Sadeghi became uncomfortable with the content of Kota Karamzadeh's messages and how often he was contacting her, according to authorities. Lowe said that he was first made aware of harassing behavior by the suspect in December. He would repeatedly contact her by text and over the phone, once calling her over 100 times in a single day. God damn. That is just so annoying. Nonstop texter, nonstop commenter. That is a sign. Thank you, by the way, Danielle. That is a sign. Somebody who just nonstop bombards you, like, yeah, they might be able to go to the next step. Watch out. If you got one of those in your life, you can start looking at them with an evil eye. Just like, slow it down. Slow it the F down. This harassment eventually escalated into in-person stalking. Kota Karamzadeh had visited Sadeghi's residence in Redmond before the night of the murder and followed her to a conference in Denver in the latter part of 2022. Yikes. I might need to change the name of this show. This is no longer the Dante Greco show. This is just the show. The anonymous show. Show by some guy. The upscale suburb where she lived is located, most famous for being the site of Microsoft's headquarters. She reached out again in mid-January at which point the case was assigned to an investigator. Oh, okay, Sadeghi reached out to the cops. The case was assigned to an investigator who began to follow up on it, attempting to contact Karamzadeh to gain a statement from him. Let him know that Sadeghi no longer wanted to be in contact with him. The problem with all this is, too, like, you try to go to the cops, and they're like, well, you're still alive, so there's nothing we can do. Call us, when you're taking your last breaths. We'll come and we'll enforce that no contact order. Okay, but until then, just hands are tied. Hands are tied. Our detectives had warrants to get information from his phone and were trying to serve the no contact order to the suspect, but had not done so yet. Again, like he would have cared. He would have gotten the no contact order and driven that very day to the house, I'm sure. Thinking, I'll show you no contact. Being that he is a trucker, he's hard to pin down. So they weren't able to get it to the guy. So they did get a temporary protection order, which would have forbidden him from contacting Sadeghi, but not provided any material protection. Exactly. One of the investigators says, I think the key piece here is that a protection order is simply a piece of paper that does not prevent a person from causing harm to another person. It just puts them on notice and gives law enforcement the ability to arrest a person should they violate said protective order. Exactly. What are you going to do? Pull the piece of paper out and be like, stop. You see what this is? Get out of here. And then he'll obey. So dumb. Lowe said Sadeghi had no idea that the Karamzadeh was planning to pay her a visit, and if she had, the police would have been there to issue the protection order. Yeah, he had no record prior to the murders. Again, of course, she's not going to have an idea. I mean, he sends her hundreds of texts and hundreds of calls. None of them contain the words, I'm coming to kill you, of course, because he doesn't want to spoil the surprise. It's just a terrible story. I'm sure it's a rarity. We don't usually hear about podcasters being murdered, or like I talked about Christina Grimmie, people from YouTube, social media personalities. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it puts a shiver down everyone's spine because you think, well, God damn it. Could it be you? Who's coming? All right. Anyways. So terrible story though. Feel bad, especially if they were just an affiliate. That makes me think that like some friend of hers has a podcast and had her on to talk about getting employed in the tech industry. Do we know if Ramin Karamzadeh wanted to work in the tech industry? He was a trucker. Maybe he was looking for a career change. It just didn't work out. Okay, let's switch it over to Hollywood. It's the Oscars this Sunday. This time last year, when I was still at TMZ, I would have been out there. I would have had to go to gifting suites. I would have had to be at red carpets and trying to find stuff and get shots, and it just would have sucked, especially in this weather, in this apocalyptic weather that we're experiencing here in Los Angeles. Or, whoops, did I say that? If there's any Ramin Karamzadehs out there, I did not say Los Angeles. I said Las Cruces, New Mexico. This show is shot live in New Mexico. All right. Oscars. First of all, let's start with our favorite person, everyone's favorite, President Volodymyr Zelensky. He again wanted to appear on the Oscars, and they rejected him again. I'm glad they did. It's like, look, no offense, okay? It's horrible what's going on in Ukraine. You don't need to show up everywhere. You don't need to be, singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. You don't need to. What's next? You want an invite to the Met Gala? Like, this isn't like, Obama going out to sell Obamacare, where he needed to appear all over in every pop culture medium because he was trying to get people to purchase insurance. What is the end goal here? That Oscar voters are going to call their congressman and say, send more money to Ukraine? Like, what are you trying to get out of this? No one even watches the Oscars. Why waste your time? Seriously. So that the people who already support you can stand up and go, yes, Vladimir, yes. We're with you. Take that, Mr. Putin. It's a little irritating. They snubbed him. Yeah, for the past year, Volodymyr Zelensky has been greeted with open arms by award shows, film festivals, and even the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, maybe he's just like, he was a comedian. He might just want to get invited to some parties. I don't know. Show up in person. The Oscars for the second year in a row snubbed him. He was hoping to follow up his Berlin Film Festival appearance last month. See, that's what I'm talking. The Berlin Film Festival. Who's watching that? Not even the BAFTAs or like the Cannes Film Festival, the Berlin Film Festival. Sources say WME power agent Mike Simpson made a plea to the Academy to include the comedic actor turned politician, but was shut down. The Academy declined comment. Maybe give him a Lifetime Achievement Award, like one of those special Oscars. That can get him there. How about make a movie? You know what? He should have made a movie in the past year. You blew it. Should have been shooting a documentary all year long about Ukraine and about you and, your battle. And then you rush it out there. Believe me, the Academy voters would have eaten it up and you could have accepted the award. It would have been even bigger than just like popping in right before a commercial break. You could have accepted award, best documentary or best international film, whatever. Stop just insisting that you get to come and talk. Unless he's trying to get his Oscar or no. Sean Penn gave him the Oscar. Never mind. Oh, he did go to the Cannes and Venice Film Festivals, as well as the Grammy Awards. Yeah. Is any of that helping at all? I don't think it's helping. Anyways, so that's not really about the Oscars. All right, let's get to this brutally honest Oscar ballot. Comes out every year. It's interesting. It's like, you got to do it anonymously. Some oh, hold on one second. I see one of our commenters talking about that DB Cooper story. I want to talk about later in the show. If you say you think you actually found the guy's obituary, if you happen to have that, send it this way. I would love to at least look at it maybe before broadcasting it publicly, because who knows, but that would be very interesting. If you could just send that to the Dante Greco show at gmail.com, that'd be great. Or tweet it at me at Greco_show. Okay. Getting back to the Oscars. I didn't see a lot of the films this year. That's increasingly common for me, and I think for everyone else. It's harder and harder to get excited to watch all the movies. So much great TV, so much interesting social media, so many great podcasts, and it's just like I don't care about The Whale. I know you want me to, but I don't. Brendan Fraser, what put me off about The Whale too? I was going to see it because I thought, oh yeah, Brendan Fraser, a likable guy. But like every interview I hear with him, he's so soft-spoken and he comes out. I know that he's on some, it's got to be a little bit of a persona that he's putting out there. He's making the comeback and he's trying to be humble and, he's got the kind of problematic things that happened to him in the past. Okay, I'm not discounting that that's real. I'm just saying that he's laying it on a little thick. Like every interview he talks and he goes, well, it's really just about the work. The work is what's most important. And the accolades that come with it are flights of fancy, but I really care mostly about just my craft. Like, boring. Wake up. Speak up. Get us interested. All right, let's see what this person says about Best Picture. A lot of the fanfare around Avatar The Way of Water comes from the backstory, how long it took to make, etc., rather than the actual quality of the movie. That's what I said. And that's why I think, yeah, okay, it might be the second highest grossing movie of all time right now or whatever. It might even become the highest grossing movie of all time, but that's because it's been 13 years since the last one. I don't think it's going to be able to sustain the interest through 5 more sequels. The technology wasn't even that much better this time, the 3D and all that. It wasn't even that much better. It just looks like a movie in 60 FPS that we can all see on YouTube anytime we want. Just Google 60 FPS videos. It's going to look just like Avatar. And video game technology has gotten so much better since the first one that it doesn't blow you away anymore what Avatar did. So for some reason, people still are seeing this one over and over. They must be, to account for the massive amounts of money that are being made in ticket sales. I don't think the storyline, the characters, the actors playing the characters, you don't even know who they are. They don't really have any stars in these films. It's not going to be enough. Give it up. Give it up and make a theme park, or sell it to Disney and let them make Avatar Land. But 4 or 5 more sequels is not doing it. Go back to make a True Lies sequel, Cameron, or not Terminator. Terminator is pretty much ruined as a franchise, but True Lies, we could do with a True Lies sequel. One more, 75-year-old Schwarzenegger, a little bit of de-aging. Women talking was not bad. The acting and directing were really good, but I didn't love it. Yeah, I didn't see that. I enjoyed The Fabelmans. Spielberg did his Spielberg thing and directed the hell out of it, but it was a little long. Triangle of Sadness. Yeah, the problem also is there's like 10 Best Oscar, Best Picture nominees. So now it's become, I know they changed it because of The Dark Knight from 2008. Everyone was like, how could you not nominate this film? It was really good. It was. It's the only superhero movie that I like because it was more like a gangster, suspenseful, dark thriller type of movie, less comic booky superhero thing. But now they have 10 slots to fill, and that's where they like kind of do their charity. They're just like, yeah, sure, Avatar, yeah, whatever. Triangle of Sadness, good movie, but like Best Picture, interesting picture. It's just a little recognition thing. It's like a badge, that nomination. Kate Blanchett was incredible in Tar, but the movie takes too long to get to its point. Top Gun was a fantastic thrill ride and got people back into movie theaters. I'm glad it's nominated. Popularity is not a bad thing, but the story is pretty simple and straightforward. And I was weirded out by the faceless enemy aspect of it. Yeah. Top Gun was a good movie. And I know that people who, let's say, are more on the right point to Top Gun and say, see, libtard Hollywood, that's how you make a movie that the rest of us are going to enjoy. And that might be true, but it doesn't mean it was the best picture. I enjoyed it, Austin Butler was so mind-blowing in Elvis that I watched it multiple times. The movie was fun, but it's all about the performance. Yeah, that's accurate. Banshees was so good with a really funny and concise script, but for me, it's a very close call between All Quiet on the Western Front and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, I keep wanting to watch All Quiet on the Western Front. I hear a lot of good things, that it's kind of like a Saving Private Ryan level piece of cinema, but I haven't been in the mood to see people getting their limbs blown off lately. So I haven't gotten around to it. Maybe if it wins and it gets that like post Oscars movie theater re-release, I'll go see it. I don't want to watch it at home. I will, but like it's nicer to watch it in a theater. Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's the feel-good movie of the year that everyone wants to win. I tried to get through it. I made it through about an hour, but it's like it was a lot going on. I don't know. It was like you need ADD or something to keep up with the movie. Couldn't finish it. Don't really have an interest in finishing it. I don't begrudge it its success, nor the actor. I think Michelle Yeoh, it's great to see her picking up all the awards. Just, it was a little too much for me. Best Director. What do they pick? They vote Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Interesting. So they don't think Steven Spielberg is going to get it. I thought Spielberg might get it because it's like probably the last time. He's calling in every favor he's got because this is the movie about his family that he's always wanted to make. And he went back and made like a classic Spielberg type of movie. He stopped making the, Rin Tin Tin and the movie about the horse and, all the other shitty movies he's made in the last 10 years and kind of went back to his formula. And it might be like his last hurrah when it comes to that type of thing. So maybe it'll be a situation. I still think Spielberg might pull that win out. I think they're going to say F Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert from Everywhere, Everything All at Once. They're not going to care that they did everything with limited resources. According to this article, they're going to say, Steven, the fix is in. You took this one home, buddy. One more for Steve. Best actor. This article says Paul Mescal of After Sun is out immediately. He's a great actor, but I'm confused about all the excitement over that movie. Yeah, never even heard of it. Bill Nighy is so great in Living, and Colin Farrell is so great in Banshees. After I saw The Whale, Brendan Fraser being my choice. And then I sat down and watched Elvis, and I was so blown away by Austin Butler's performance that I watched Elvis again that same week. He's the clear winner to me. And if you're going to give Rami Malek an Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody, when he wasn't even singing, then you can't not give it to Austin. This kid literally got a new voice. Yes, that's true. You know what? And let's take a little diversion for a second. I think Austin Butler probably deserves it. He did a pretty good job. He gave up 3 years of his life and, he's still doing the voice. And it was a good performance. But the Academy tends to lean more serious. So Elvis might be a little too flashy for them. Although, like they said, if they gave it to Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, then it should be possible, at the very least, for Austin Butler to get it. Now, let's really quickly talk about, and let's kind of enjoy his accent. He still has been doing the Elvis accent. If you haven't been paying attention, the movie wrapped like 2 years ago or more, and he's held on to the accent. He cuts up the hair and he talks like this, and he's so emotional about every win that he gets. Will this weekend finally free him? Will he be cured? I feel like he's almost like cursed or something. He has to do the voice, or maybe it's like an OCD thing and he's not admitting it. Superstitious OCD thing. If I just keep doing that voice, my God, it'll take me all the way to that sweet glittering Oscar. This is for Priscilla and Lisa Marie. If he wins, or if he doesn't win, he will be released from the servitude to the ghost of Elvis. Whatever's going on with him mentally, I think he will snap out of it finally. The hypnotist will snap him out of it. That's what I'm hoping for, because even Daniel Day-Lewis didn't take it this far. Sure, he takes it that far on the set, but when he won for There Will Be Blood, he didn't get up there going like, oh, I thank you for this Oscar. I'm just out here hunting for quail with my son, H.W. Just going to be here hunting for quail.
I owe this to a bold vision.
Bold. I owe this to a bold visionary
Filmmaker.
It was really cool because I'd been friends with Ashley beforehand, and so it was.
By the way, that's his original voice. This is his real voice from 10 years ago.
It was really cool because I'd been friends with Ashley beforehand, and so it was like just going into something with your friend.
Austin Butler has.
That's the voice that we're hoping to hear come Monday morning, or maybe even right after. When he goes to the Vanity Fair party right after the Oscars, he should walk in like, hey, guys, I got the Oscar. I'm back. Austin's back.
Rebel, icon, Elvis Presley.
Rebel, icon, Elvis Presley.
The name is still recognized in every corner of the globe as one of the greatest music artists of all time.
It's so weird because everyone's got to be sitting there like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He keeps talking with Elvis. Did you see this? Austin Butler, he won't stop talking about, like, everyone's got to be laughing behind his back. Priscilla and Lisa Marie, when she was alive, had to be sitting there like, Mom, is this an insult to us, or is he making fun of us at this point? He won't give it up. I've said before, I get it. It's more fun to talk like this than it is to talk like this. But goddamn, at least if you're gonna do the deeper voice thing, take up smoking so you can say, "Oh, it's because I'm a smoker." Like Al Pacino, he used to have that high voice, and now he talks like this. Okay, we understand why. He smoked 10 packs of cigarettes a day. Austin Butler is just doing his accent. Drop the Memphis part of the accent at least. Keep the deep, breathy voice, but drop the part of the...
But who he really was, the artist, man.
Was an artist and a man, blue moon. All right, let's get back to that ballot. But you know what? I'm voting for Austin Butler to win, because that accent's going to be coming out thick if he wins. The Oscar is the number one thing. Hope maybe he'll cry. He'll talk about Lisa Marie and then bring up Priscilla. I'm announcing tonight Priscilla and I are going to be wed. I'm taking it to the next level. Doesn't stop here. Priscilla will be impregnated by in vitro fertilization, or maybe a surrogate. We're going to bring a new Elvis into this world. By me, Elvis Butler. Best actress. I would have definitely put Danielle Deadwyler above Michelle Williams or Ana de Armas. It felt like nobody cared about Blonde after it came out, so I was really surprised she got nominated. Yeah, that's true. I thought that was going to be nominated because Hollywood loves Hollywood, but apparently they don't like Marilyn Monroe, or she wasn't enough of a hero. She was too much of a victim, or whatever the fuck it was. Who cares? Nobody watched the movie. So I'd heard about Andrea Riseborough and To Leslie before the nominations, only because I kept seeing Academy members who were in that little camp posting about it on social media. It didn't bother me at the time because I felt like it was going nowhere. Then when she got nominated, I thought about it some more. The performance is great. Not the greatest of all time, as Kate Winslet lied to me, but great. But the way she sort of muscled in felt very mafia-ish. Like the people with the power decided that this should happen, so it did. For me, it was close between Tars, Kate Blanchett, and Everything Everywhere All at Once is Michelle Yeoh. Kate gets lost in Lydia Tarr. Had to pick Michelle. Yeah, I would say that too. I think it's important for Michelle Yeoh to win. I think it's a good thing for, representation, and she's hung around for a long time in Hollywood. She's put the work in. Personally, when I watched the movie, I didn't think, oh, this is an Oscar-winning performance, but I just didn't. I'm not a big fan of the film. Kate Blanchett was great, but she's already got 2 Oscars, and she won 2 Oscars for like much better performances than this one. If you pit this up against, say, Blue Jasmine, it's not quite on that level. Best supporting actor, I watched most of Causeway, but it was too slow, even though Brian Tyree Henry is incredible in everything. Judd Hirsch was great in The Fabelmans, but that's such a small part that I was surprised he even got nominated. Yeah, again, that's Spielberg calling in his favors. You're working, greasing the wheels. Now that Harvey Weinstein's out of the picture, Spielberg can go back and grease those wheels. That's the worst thing that ever happened. Harvey Weinstein, not the worst thing that Harvey Weinstein ever did. Okay, we know that. But in the awards realm, the worst thing he did was twist everyone's arm the year that Saving Private Ryan came out to get Shakespeare in Love to win the Best Picture. What an insult to our troops, to this country. Thank God they locked him up. Give him another 10 years just for that. I don't know how to pick between the 2 Banshees guys. Ke Huy Quan was just fantastic in Everything Everywhere, and his story makes you hopeful and reminds you it's never really over in Hollywood unless you're dead or Will Smith. There are a few things that I want to see more than him standing up there with an Oscar, so they voted for Ke Huy Quan. I like that too. Listen, Ki-Hoi Kwan, if you don't know who he is, he played Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. He was the little kid with Harrison Ford running around when they went to India and had to break out of the temple. It's nice to see him. He had like nothing going on. He came back. He got a career. Hopefully he has health insurance now. I was reading about how he couldn't get a job immediately after completing Everything Everywhere All at Once. And he couldn't, because of that, he didn't qualify for health insurance. You know, okay, let's see Spielberg pull a couple strings to get this guy some Aetna. But I would like to see it. And before you say like, oh, but he hasn't done anything and, you know, he hasn't been in a big movie in 36 years. So what? Listen, Jennifer Hudson comes in out of note from American Idol and wins a Best Supporting Actress Oscar. Lots of people win Best Supporting Actor Oscars that don't necessarily have the massive resume to back it up. People win Best Actress Oscars when they should. Like, who was the girl? I forget her name always, but Ex Machina. The girl who played the Machina in Ex Machina wins an Oscar a couple years later for the movie where Eddie Redmayne plays a trans woman. What the hell was that? Her resume doesn't scream Oscar. Best Supporting Actress. Carrie Condon of The Banshees of Inisherin and Hong Chow of The Whale were fine. I think Jamie Lee Curtis could win for Everything Everywhere. She's been a part of Hollywood since she was a child, even though Stephanie Sue was better in the movie. But I'm hoping that the Academy stops treating Marvel movies like second-class citizens and recognizes that Angela Bassett's Black Panther Wakanda Forever performance is great. She performed the F out of that role. And that, considering her body of work too, she's long overdue, so she gets the vote. I agree with that. That's probably what's going to happen. Did not see the movie, but again, kind of like Michelle Yeoh, she's been around. She's done good work. She seems to deserve it for this movie. You know, all I've seen is that same trailer that everyone else seen where she's like, give me back my son, or whatever she's talking about. Or how could you do this to me? Or why is this happening to me? Whatever the line is from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, give it to her. She deserves it. Jamie Lee Curtis winning for Everything Everywhere. Like, problem with Everything Everywhere All at Once, if it's winning all the other Oscars, then you got to be like, is this one of the greatest movies of all time? Because when you think about it, there's only been 3 movies that have taken the big 5. You got It Happened One Night in 1934. You've got One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1975. Then you got Silence of the Lambs. Are we going to put Everything Everywhere All at Once in the pantheon of films like that? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be remembered in 5 years. But for right now, it's a good move. It's a good move to go with that. Top Gun, okay, best adapted screenplay. Top Gun script was probably the weakest. Women Talking script was strong. Livings was great. I loved All Quiet, and it's hard not to acknowledge it here, but I had to pick Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery because the movie was so much fun. And this is the only place I can recognize it. I disagree. The first one, first half hour maybe, and the first movie, yes. But this one, they just, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert for Glass Onion, spoiler alert. They set it up with an interesting premise. They go to like this Epstein Island type of place with a weirdo billionaire played by Edward Norton. They got all these interesting characters in there setting up. You think like, oh, it's going to be like a week of mystery and intrigue and murder. No, then it just becomes like that night they're running around and fucking, you know, trying to solve some fake mystery that the guy set up, and there's a lot of special effects, and it just, I didn't enjoy it much. I thought it was going to be so much better. I really like the first one. I'm looking forward to the third one because it's an interesting character and an interesting type of film, but I think they blew it by wasting the setup. Like, what's the point of coming to the island and then just getting into his big Glass Onion house and that's it? You're going to solve it, and then the computer graphics, the CGI is not even that good? Without trying to give too much away of the movie, if you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But disappointment. Best original screenplay. The Fableman script was fine. I really like Banshee's Star and Triangle of Sadness, but this one is everything everywhere by a mile. I couldn't have come up with that concept in a million years. The term is original screenplay, and if you can't call Everything Everywhere the most original of this group, then nothing means anything. Great point. You know what? Not going to argue that one bit. There's one thing you can say about that movie. It's that it's an original movie. Best documentary. Is there anything, like I said earlier, best documentary should have been Vladimir Zelensky presents Ukraine. I left my heart in Ukraine, whatever. Then he could have been up there accepting an Oscar and giving a speech. And I guarantee you they wouldn't have cut that speech off. Zelensky could have given a 15-minute acceptance speech. And they would have been like, wait, let him talk. Let him cook. All right. So, the rest of the categories are the bathroom break categories. So we're not going to get to those. Just kidding. For all my people who are below the line, that's industry parlance for not on-screen talent. I like all those other categories, but there's just too many categories to go through on a YouTube podcast. So I did read something that surprised me. Didn't surprise me so much as make me go, this is too much. This is too far. So Alison Boshoff, whoever that is for the Daily Mail, is this the last year of the Best Actress Award? Oscar sources say Academy is consulting on ditching gendered categories. The races for Best Actor and Best Actress are among the most followed in both old and new media, and the Academy will be hesitant to tamper with that against the background of consistently falling TV viewership for the awards ceremony. But they don't want to be on the wrong side of important discussions around representation and inclusivity in the industry, particularly not after the damaging Oscars So White scandal. They also need to find a way to accommodate the small but growing band of non-binary or trans actors such as Emma Corrin, Elliot Page, and Yasmin Finney. Any change would be viewed as hugely significant, blah, 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 blah. I don't think this is a good idea. And if I was a woman, which who knows, maybe by next show I will be. If I was a woman, I would be pissed because I'd say, hey, you're taking away chances now. Like, at the very least, women were guaranteed 5 slots. Men were guaranteed 5 slots. Now it's like, are we all competing against each other? Or is it just like 10 nominees for a genderless Best Actor? Nobody wants to see that. And by the way, they're worried about falling TV viewership. This is not the thing that brings the TV viewers back. The unfortunate truth is that much of the country does not want things to be totally genderless. They would kind of prefer things just stay the way they were. Like, if you want to add a new category, okay, that's a discussion to have, but like just totally getting rid of Best Actor, Best Actress, most people would probably be against that. And it would make them turn off the TV even quicker. So please, whoever the Academy is listening to, you don't need to totally get rid of everything that you got. Figure out ways to add. Don't take away. Okay, so the Independent Spirit Awards do something like that. They honored the lead actor rather than having male and female winners. Some believe that the gender-neutral movement disadvantages female actors, although it was Michelle Yeoh who triumphed at the Spirit Awards. However, at the gender-neutral Brit Awards this year, there was dismay when it was revealed that there were no female nominees for Best Artist. Meanwhile, top brass at BAFTA have been grappling with the gender-neutral hot potato for more than a year, and I'm told the decision is still a long way off. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, look, and also you're dealing with, let's say, Elliot Page. All right, so he's transitioned. Yeah, he's transitioned. He's now Elliot, and I don't know, just nominate him as Best Actor. I mean, it really doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things who's getting nominated in the categories, but it just like getting rid of it completely is stupid. You can keep it, but it's like, look, okay, if he wants to be called Best Actor now, then let him be Best Actor. It's not the same as athletics. It's not the same as sports where there's like a physical differences. It's acting. It's like anyone can act and act well. You know, Meryl Streep can act as well as Robert De Niro and vice versa. They can be as convincing and create as interesting of characters as each other. But it doesn't mean, I mean, it might be interesting to just say, okay, who's have like a Best Actor period of the year, but not for this reason. I don't think you do it for this reason because you're trying to be on the right side of things. No, that's not the reason. You do like, all right, we're just going to have Best Performance of the Year as like the final bit of competition. Coming at it from a competition standpoint, you're talking. You say, all right, now we have the Best Actor, we have the Best Actress, and now we're going to put them up against each other and see who really wins for Best Performance. All right, that's interesting. But if you're just doing like, hey, you know what? So we don't offend anybody, we're not even going to tell you the name of who won. We're not even going to tell you the gender, like get rid of the genders. No one's interested in that. It's boring. All right. Do we even care about this story anymore? LA Times writer faces furious backlash after claiming rich white drivers are polluting the air breathed by the city's Black and Latino populations. Writer Sammy Roth cited a study claiming the city's freeway planning was racially motivated. Readers slammed the piece as idiotic, while Twitter slapped an inaccuracy warning on it, though later retracted it. The freeways, he says, it means, okay, hold on. First of all, this is who wrote the article. It's always a guy that looks like this. No hairstyle. Hey, I'm a traveler. Here I am traveling across the world. So interesting. I'm a traveler, backpacking my way across the world. I don't get too worked up about woke stuff per se. I don't think the cancel culture and woke stuff are coming for everybody, or, you know, in real life, you don't deal with that type of thing very often. But this guy kind of, you know, when they say it's like a woke mind virus, he looks like he could be affected by a woke mind virus. Now, I'm not saying that he's totally wrong, because his claim is that white drivers are polluting the air breathed by Black and Latino citizens. Sammy Roth cited a study that calls the city's freeway planning racially motivated, as it means white people living in LA's suburbs drive through diverse neighborhoods every day on their way to work. Like, that's half true, or maybe a quarter true, but like, it's not just white people that are allowed to use the freeways. People of all color and creed and whatever can use the freeway. And they're all driving through every neighborhood. There are people of color driving through white neighborhoods, and there are white people driving through people of color's neighborhoods. Everyone's polluting everybody. It's very hard to say that it's one particular group is doing the pollution, you know, right? In his work, the writer referred to a USC report that found LA residents who drive more tend to be exposed to less air pollution, and Angelenos who drive less tend to be exposed to more pollution. Study local iniquities. Okay, blah, 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 blah. We don't need all those details. Largely comes down to the shameful history of Los Angeles County's low-income communities of color being torn apart to make way for freeways, a history that has been extensively documented by the Times. Okay, so that is true. Yeah. A lot of these freeways do cut through low-income communities, the poorer areas. Today, many residents of of the county's whiter, more affluent neighborhoods, who were often able to keep highways out of their own backyards, commute to work through lower income Black and Latino neighborhoods bisected by the 10, 110, and 105 freeways. Yeah, again, Twitter slapped a warning claiming that this claim is false. It's just kind of dumb. I maybe he was trying to get attention. Maybe he was trying to go for clicks, whatever, trying to be outrageous, trying to think, hell, people will cheer me for this take. Fuck you, white drivers. But I got to call BS only because you can't just say it's only white people driving. Yeah, there's probably just as many white people driving through the neighborhoods as people of color. It's stupid. Go get on a plane or something. I'm going to turn in this article now. What do you think about this article I wrote? All right. DB Cooper. Do you know who DB Cooper is? Let me take one quick break for a second just to drink some water, clear my throat.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility for every unchecked moment.
For every time it was easier to ignore than to call it out for what it was.
Every not so funny joke. Every unfair stereotype.
Every blatant injustice, no matter how big or small.
Excuse me. I take responsibility. Wait. I take responsibility. It's too hot. I had to take my jacket off. I took my jacket off responsibly. Even though people are dying in the snow not far from here, California, it was hot. Too hot for me, so I took the jacket off. Okay, so DB Cooper. You know him, you love him, you don't know if he's living or dead. What happened to him? He jumped out of a plane 52 years ago, around Thanksgiving weekend, never to be seen again. Hijacker. One of the great mysteries, a great piece of Americana, the DB Cooper story. He's an unidentified man who hijacked Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 in United States airspace on November 24th, 1971. During the flight from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington, the hijacker told the flight attendant he was armed with a bomb, demanded $200,000 in ransom, equivalent to a little over $1.3 million in 2021 dollars, and requested 4 parachutes upon landing in Seattle. After releasing the passengers in Seattle, the hijacker instructed the flight crew to refuel the aircraft and begin a second flight to Mexico City with a refueling stop in Reno, Nevada. After about 30 minutes after taking off from Seattle, the hijacker opened the aircraft's aft. The hijacker opened the aircraft's aft door, deployed the staircase, and parachuted into the night over southwestern Washington. The hijacker has never been identified or found. So, every few years, there's a new break in the case, new suspects that people put forward. It's been going on for decades. I did not know this, but a UFC fighter named Chael Sonnen has been claiming for about 10 years that he knows who DB Cooper is. He said that DB Cooper was a guy, because he grew up in Oregon, and DB Cooper was apparently his sister's godfather. Here's some of the evidence he presents. Now, I don't know if I can play a lot of this video because of copyright strikes. I just got one because I put up some video of a guy skiing and he somehow found it. I didn't know it was a copyrighted thing. Now I have a copyright strike. And I had to go to copyright school on YouTube, where it's like a weird cartoon, like a kid's cartoon, and then you got to answer questions like, is copyright illegal? Copyright infringement illegal? Yes. So I don't know how much I'm going to play the video, but let me just play a couple pieces of it.
Cooper.
DB Cooper is the most famous hijacker of all time. He hijacked a plane that left Portland, headed for Seattle, and he handcuffed himself to a flight attendant. Then he opened his briefcases before he had metal detectors and stuff to get on airplanes, and it was what he led her to believe was a bomb. So he had him set the plane down, bring $200,000 in cash and 2 parachutes. So they took the plane off. He took the money, put one of the parachutes on, and jumped.
Oh, and they never found him.
Never found him.
Never got found.
Never
And
found
you
him.
met him.
Yeah, no, he's my sister's godfather. Yeah. Yeah, just a regular guy.
Not your godfather too?
No, just hers.
But your parents know him. But
yeah. And he's dead now. He's dead now. But yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big deal at the time. Then, like every 10 years, somebody comes out with a new story on DB Cooper. Netflix just came out with one. They never have any new information.
Chael Sonnen just came out with one.
They never have any new information. It's the same information. Then you get a
Can
new
you drop some new
producer
information?
that comes along. Well, there was a couple of things, which is the flight attendant said that he was Hispanic, and she told that from day one. And the FBI was putting out composite drawings, and they always had her as the Caucasian. And she would tell anyone that would listen, which wasn't very many people. You know, there was no internet, there was no Facebook back when this happened. She had a hard time getting an audience, but anybody that would listen, she said, I don't think he's Caucasian, I think he's Hispanic, and he was Indian. So I mean that she was very close on her ethnicity.
Let's fucking go.
So he had some of the dark features, you know. I think he had on like a fake mustache or something.
Cooper pseudonym.
Yeah, and so, but that was one of them. And then a big thing when they never found him and they never found the money. They tried to say, well, he would have died. He jumped into this forest, and between the wolves and the bears and the fall itself, he would have died. But what they didn't understand is, and it relates back to his ethnicity of being Indian, is that was all government land, tens of thousands of acres.
Native American.
That backed to native land. So he jumped into his own backyard. He jumped into where he camped so he knew exactly where he was. And the FBI spec when they never found him, they tried to sell it on the world. He might not have even made it out. And I think he had a motorcycle. That part is me making that up because he used to race motorcycles. I think he had a motorcycle down there and drove right home. It was only a 3-hour drive.
Did you speak to him?
So, I mean, first of all, there's a lot interesting there. How the flight attendant always maintained that she thought the guy was Hispanic. Turns out he's Native American. I could see how she could be, you know, confused in that type of environment. You know, it's scary, but she remembered that detail. And then Chael goes on to say that the guy, well, okay, you know what? Let me just play it. Screw it. Screw it. Screw it. If they take the video down, whatever. You were here for it live. We did it live.
Since
I spoke to him many times. Yeah, I wasn't even born until 27 years after this happened. He was my sister's godfather. Yeah.
And how was it disclosed to you that he was DB Cooper?
Well, my aunt told me. My aunt told me that he was DB Cooper, and my aunt asked him. They're from a really small hometown. I mean, maybe I jumped in a little late on the story. They're from a very small hometown. Like, for example, there was 13 people that graduated in their class. They played 5-man football. It was a really small hometown. Most of them had never been on an airplane. A lot of them had never even seen an airplane. This guy was taking skydiving lessons. Like you had mentioned that to the group. This would be the hottest thing from this town. You're jumping out of an airplane. He didn't tell anyone. Saying these very private lessons. And so they found out. They found a photo, and then they had to ask him, and he finally copped that he was. And it was just the whole thing was weird. It's like, why wouldn't you tell us that? And then the whole DB Cooper thing happens. They come up with a composite picture, and it looks just like him. I mean, all the dots start connecting. And my aunt said to him, "Are you DB Cooper?" They were having dinner. Lee's Kitchen at Walton, Oregon. And he said no. He said no, but everything got weird. The whole table got really weird. It was my mom and dad, my aunt and uncle, he and his wife. So a couple of days later, he went over to my uncle's house and he said, hey, about what she asked me. And he said, she's not the only one that's put this together. The FBI's already been to my house. So he went into hiding, which all he did is went to Arizona. But it was a very different time back then, right? You could rob a bank and move 2 towns away back then and live the rest of your life. You put a bed, little handkerchief, you'd never get caught. So he went to Arizona for about 7.5 years, and he came back. He ended up passing away about 4 years ago.
Did he live? Was he like pretty rich?
No, that was another thing. Is he had a minimum wage job. He was a night watchman, is what he did. But then he came into. They were into shotguns. He came into these over-under shotguns that were expensive, and some 4-wheelers and a motorhome. There just started being these toys all of a sudden that popped up. And my parents had known him was like, hey, where's this coming from? And he told him that he got Indian money. He said, because I'm Native, every year I get money, which is true. He had enough Native blood that he was getting, but then that came out too, and that was $1,200 a year. So they just didn't cover the spread, and they're like, DB Cooper.
And the FBI visited him, but never could pin him.
They went and knocked on his door. Yeah. They searched the house the whole bit. They never pinned it on him. No.
Wow.
No.
Okay, so that's Chael Sonnen's story. Somehow I've never heard that before. And apparently he's been talking about it for years. Like it first came out in a book that he wrote 10 years ago. They've made Netflix specials and other specials about the DB Cooper case, updates. There's some guy named Robert Rackstraw that a particular DB Cooper hunter was really convinced was him. Robert Rackstraw died a couple years ago. But somehow nobody in the DB Cooper world thought to talk to Chael Sonnen about this. Now, when I read the YouTube comments, people keep saying like, oh, he's trolling. He's just making stuff up. But he's been talking about this for a long time. You know? Like it'd be kind of, and it's a great explanation for who DB Cooper was. I think checks a lot of the boxes. Now, I saw another video with Chael Sonnen where he says, look, I'm just waiting for the FBI to ask me nicely for, this guy's name and to give them a little bit more information. He keeps claiming he has 2 pieces of information that only the FBI would know that he can give to them to confirm his story. Because like he said here, the FBI actually did visit with this gentleman, his sister's godfather, DB Cooper. By the way, it was actually Dan Cooper was the fake name that the hijacker gave to the flight crew or when he bought his ticket. But a reporter who was first reporting the story made the mistake, called him DB Cooper, and that stuck. They never found him, but they did find in 1980 some of the money. It was in tatters. It had, been affected. It was discovered along the Columbia River by a kid who was vacationing with his parents in Washington, and he found it, and they were able to trace it because they had the FBI, before giving him the money, they had taken note of all the serial numbers of the notes that they were giving to DB Cooper, so they were able to say, yes, this is some of the money. But that was all they ever found. That was the only trace of him they ever found. Chael Sonnen says that he finally did receive a call from a retired FBI agent who used to work on the case. And the guy told him, look, the reason that no one's contacting you to get more information is they don't care anymore. Basically, the case is like considered closed for all intents and purposes by the FBI. They don't have anyone working it at all. They feel that the public is satisfied with the resolution of the case, that the guy is just never to be seen again. And so they don't have any resources working on it. And they don't really care to find out at this point. And I've seen other people say, well, no, he probably died because they never found, outside of that money that they found in the Columbia River, they never found any of the money, the serial numbers. None of them ever turned up. None of them were ever spent. Well, okay, that sounds reasonable, except for the fact that we're talking about the early 1970s when all this happened. We didn't have computers across the country that could just, log the numbers of all of these. Listen, look at how many numbers they have here. These are the serial note numbers for the for the money that was given to DB Cooper. You didn't have computers that could just ingest that and find a match. No, people had to look at a $20 bill and then pull up this big piece of paper and go down the list and try to find it, and they only gave this paper with this information on the serial notes to some of the banks in the Pacific Northwest and a couple other ones, some Nevada casinos, and that's it. They didn't send it across the country. I don't think they sent it to Arizona, where Chael Sonnen says the real DB Cooper wound up. This is from Quora, an article that I found. Seattle FBI agent Larry Carr, one of the many case agents who was assigned with the Cooper case, admitted in a radio interview with Steven Reinhart that most banks abandoned the search within 3 months after the hijacking, and that virtually all of them gave up within 6 months. So within 6 months, nobody is looking for these bills anymore. It's too much work. You had to do it by eyesight. You had to like take every single $20 bill that came your way and compare it against this list. No one was going to do that. Nobody cared. So you can't just definitively say, hey, they never found the money. Money never showed up. That proves that he died in the woods. It's also interesting what Chael Sonnen was saying, that this guy knew that land because it was Native American land. I've been trying to determine if that is accurate. I haven't gotten a perfect answer on that. Even if it's not Native American government land, like it's reasonable to expect that this guy knew the area and was able to find his way, and a motorcycle would certainly make sense as a mode of transportation out of there. So this, I'm surprised it's the first time I've ever heard this this story. I'm shocked that none of the where did Robert Rackstraw live? Did he live in Arizona by chance? Is Rackstraw a Native American name? I don't know. Could be. But then Chael Sonnen would be like, no, it's this guy, Robert Rackstraw. They never found the money, but that's why they didn't find the money, okay? Because people are lazy. So it's an interesting story. Follow it up. I'm fascinated by it. I would love for Chael Sonnen. I want to try to get in contact with him now somehow and try to just pull it out of him. Get this answer, because this is a fascinating mystery to solve. The guy's dead. Apparently the guy still has a grandson that's alive. I think his wife might still be alive, the real DB Cooper. And according to Chael Sonnen, they don't know. They never knew that dear old dad hijacked a plane and jumped out of it with $200,000. So anyways, that's it. Okay, well, thank you for that information. Hello, Natalie. Thank you for joining us. I'm about to end the show, but appreciate it. Everybody who watched today, do your research. I didn't talk about Bill Walton using the M word. You know what? Who cares? That's like a one-day story anyway. He's an old guy. He's an old basketball guy. He comes from a time where you can say the M word, which is for little people, and get away with it. So whatever. No offense. No offense to little people. Okay. Thanks, everybody. As always.
Have a good life. We will see you soon.
Much love.
Thank you.
Love.
All right, Dante.
So once again, thank you to my brother. Tell him your name again.
Dante Greco.
2 words. Made in America.
Dante, you're doing great.
That's good. I know anybody over in my life. It's from.
Listen, I want you to leave my good friend Ringo alone.
Yeah.
Have a good day.